Salvete omnes! In this lesson, we will learn about the ablative case, prepositions, and the verb to go in Latin. Before watching this video, please read pages 60 through 67 in your textbook. This lesson will cover the following topics: ablative case morphology, ablative case usage, prepositions and prepositional phrases, conjugating eo in the present, future, and perfect active indicative. Are you ready to learn the last major noun case? Before we talk about uses of the ablative case, let's talk about ablative case endings. The best part of the ablative case is that its endings are nearly identical to the dative case endings. Let's take a look at bonus fully declined in the masculine, feminine, and neuter. Bona, yes, that's a long A, and that is important to know. Bonis, bono, bonis, bono, bonis. Because we have another set of repeated case endings, it is important that you not only memorize all the endings, but fully internalize the uses of each case so that you are able to identify them and understand the semantics of any given sentence. So what does the ablative case do? The ablative case is perhaps the most versatile case in Latin. Think of it as the adverbial case. It tells us when, how, where, why, and to what extent an action occurs. When translating a noun in the ablative case, you often have to supply words like from, with, by, at, and in. You will learn specific uses of the ablative case later in the semester and next semester, but for now I will introduce you to the three main categories of ablatives: separative, instrumental, and locative. First, the ablative proper or separative ablative. The word ablative comes from the Latin verb aufero, aufere, abstuli, ablatum, take away. This is because the ablative case is often used to express separation. Thus, the separative ablative refers to ablative expressions of separation and motion from. In these cases, you supply the English words from or by. For example, liber malis would translate to free from bad things. Second, instrumental ablative. These expressions have to do with the means by which or how something occurs. In these cases, you supply the English words by or with. For example, docta libris would translate to having been taught by books. Finally, the locative case. As its name suggests, locative ablatives express location in time or space. In these cases, you supply the English words in or at. If you see a time or place word in the ablative case, chances are it is an ablative of time or place. For example, tertia ora would translate to in the third hour. Keep these three basic categories, separative ablative, instrumental ablative, and locative ablative, in mind as we move on to the next topic, prepositions. Prepositions are words that show direction as well as location in time and space. In, at, by, from, with, toward, through. Prepositions by themselves don't communicate much information, so they need objects. In the forest, at noon, by the road, from the bank. Together, a preposition and its object are called a prepositional phrase. In Latin, prepositions take their objects in the accusative and ablative cases. Prepositions that take ablative objects tend to match the three main categories of ablative usage: separation and motion from, instrumental, and stationary location in time and place. Such prepositions include a, ab, from or by, cum, with, de, from or about, a, ex, out of, sine, without, in or on, i.e., in or on a singular point in time or space. The B in ab drops in front of words that start with consonants. Compare a magistro, from the teacher, versus ab equo, from the horse. This is also true of the X in ex. Compare ex agro, out of the field, versus e castris, out of the camp. Prepositions that take accusative objects tend to express motion toward. Such prepositions include in, into or onto, i.e. with motion toward, ad, to or toward, per, through, trans, across. Take care to memorize each preposition and the cases they take. One cool thing about Latin prepositions is that they will always have an object, and their object, or at least one part of the prepositional phrase, like an adjective modifying the object of the preposition, will always immediately follow them. Prepositional phrases, however, may occur anywhere in the sentence and may modify any noun or verb in the sentence. Now let's practice. How would you translate "Sine consilio tuo vincere non possumus"? We are not able to conquer without your advice. In this sentence, the prepositional phrase is sine consilio tuo. Sine always takes its objects in the ablative case, so it is safe to assume that both concilio and tuo are part of the prepositional phrase. Let's do another. How would you translate Graeci epistulas scriptas a Romanos miserunt? The Greeks sent written letters to the Romans. In this sentence, the prepositional phrase is ad Romanos. Ad always takes its objects in the accusative case, so it is safe to assume that Romanos, a substantive adjective acting as a noun, is its accusative object. Although epistulas and scriptas are also accusative, word order and common sense indicate that they are more likely to be the accusative direct object of the main verb, miserunt. Before we move on to learning the verb to go in Latin, a translation tip. When you come across a Latin sentence and begin to feel overwhelmed, what do I tell you to always do? Find your verb. Another thing you can do is isolate prepositional phrases. If you know your prepositions and the cases their objects take, you can isolate prepositional phrases and focus on finding the main verb, subject, and any direct or indirect objects. Think of prepositional phrases like extra seasoning. Most sentences make sense without them, so you can add them later. Take the two example sentences we just read. Taking out sine consilio tuo still leaves vincere non possumus intelligible. We are not able to conquer. Likewise, taking out ad Romanos still leaves Graeci epistulas scriptas miserunt intelligible. The Greeks sent written letters. Time to switch gears to our final concept, the verb to go in Latin. Just like sum and possum, eo is irregular. Its principal parts are eo, ire, I or iwi, and itum. Here is eo fully conjugated in the present, future, and perfect active indicative. If you know your personal endings, memorizing these conjugations of eo should be no problem. Notice that the perfect has two sets of conjugations. The word for to go is usually one of the most common verbs in any language, which is also the case in Latin, so common usage includes a set of shorter syncopated forms. Bene. Though it seems like our sentences are just getting more complicated, which true they are, I urge you to instead think about it as gaining more access to Latin literature. How cool is that? Valete!